Hey guys, welcome back to Flooded With Flavour. This is the second episode, but it's actually the first one that I'm recording, so this is new. Today, as you can see, we are smoking two big old racks of St. Louis cut spare ribs. So what St. Louis ribs are, basically they're spare ribs, but without the big old flapper skin on top. They're more designed for competition cooking. Obviously today we're not doing that, we're just cooking to eat them. In the words of a certain barbecue king, these are some good eating ribs. So first thing we're going to do is, as you can see, they come with quite a lot of fat on the top, and that's good, but at the same time you don't want that much fat, so we're just going to trim that off. One other thing we do is, you see this kind of flap here. This is typically going to overcook if you leave it on. You can leave it on. I mean, at the end of the day, it's pork. I'm not going to say no to it whether it's overcooked or not, but as you can see on this rack of ribs here, I've trimmed it off quite nicely. So I'm just going to get a knife. I didn't mention earlier, but for trimming any kind of meat, you need an absurdly sharp knife. Like, trust me, I've done it with butter knives before and it's not fun. Don't do it with butter knives. So all I'm going to do here is just run the knife down, edge of this flappy bit. This is not the safest way to do it. Do not follow along like this at home, and just pull this little flap off. You can still cook this, or you can save the meat, grind it down into burgers, whatever you want. But just gonna square it off like that. So there you got nice two uniform racks of ribs. However, there's one more thing we've got to do before we get some rib on here. On the back section where the bones are, there's this really thin membrane. So what this membrane does basically is holds the ribs together. However, the way we're going to cook them, we don't need that membrane. All it's going to do is give us kind of a nasty texture when we bite into them. So we're going to pull that membrane off. Now, sounds kind of disgusting. Trust me, it's really satisfying. Now it's time for the rub. So I'm going to hit it with 2 coats of rub. First off, a light coating of Byron's butt rib, which I love for pretty much anything, but I mean, as you can see, it's great for pork. So I'm going to hit it with a light coating of this first, and then I'm going to come back with another light coating of Meat Church's Honey Hog Hot for a bit of a honey taste, a bit of a sugary taste, and also a bit of heat as well. So typically I like to season from like quite high up so you can get quite an even coating. You don't want to over rub these ribs because you want to taste the pork, but at the same time you want enough to be able to taste it, which is obviously that kind of perfect middle ground. This is a big old tub of rub, so it's kind of coming out a bit slowly, but as you can see, the rub should stick quite nicely because the meat's been sweating for a while. Typically I'd use a binder like mustard or really anything. You can use oil, mustard, anything you want, but I didn't really need it today. You don't want to overpower the meat with like too many flavors because, you know, pork tastes real good. You don't want to not taste the pork on ribs. So as you can see there, we've got a light coat of butt rib on. Just want to pat it in loosely to make sure it sticks, and then come back again with another coating of the Honey Hog Hot, and we're doing, as you can see, the back of the ribs first because obviously you want the rub to stick better on the top of the ribs because it's where all the meat is. Right, then when you see them that side, just flip them over, nice and simple, and then go back with that layer of what I'm using, Byron's butt rub on the top, lightish coating of that. It's going to work to build like a really nice bark. Pat it in like that, and then come back with the Honey Hog Hot. That nice layer of honey and of course sugar and heat. Right, so we've got both the racks of rib now. As you can see, the rub has already started to kind of sweat into the meat. What we're going to do now is leave these ribs as is to get to room temperature for about 15 minutes. This will cause the rub to really adhere to the meat, to stick into it, and then once that's done, we'll get them on the pit. So today I'm going to be firing up my Traeger pellet grill. We're going to be running around 275 degrees for these ribs. nice mixture of both hickory and cherry wood. So hickory wood is basically the basis of most barbecue. It's the kind of foundation smoke flavor that you want. And then cherry is a really nice flavored wood that obviously it's a fruit wood, which goes perfectly with pork and with beef, but with ribs, it is a real treat. So we've done about 1 part hickory to about 3 part cherry, so we should get a good blend of taste there. So what we're gonna do now is get it on the Traeger. Just gonna hit it with the grate with a light spray of cooking oil first, just so the meat doesn't stick. It's not that big of an issue, but if you want to be safe and make sure it doesn't, then do that. So the way that you set the ribs actually on the smoker is important, because that's gonna basically determine how they cook. How you set them is how they're gonna cook. So we're gonna put them down here, and we're really gonna bunch them up, because you want nice meaty ribs. You wanna bunch them up quite a lot. Let's get a second rack on here. So they look pretty good. The heat is coming out of that side, so this rack is probably going to cook first. I might come around and flip them around throughout the cook. I'll let you guys know if I do, depends how it goes. But what I'm going to do is, just to make sure, I'm just going to hit them with a light coat of rub again, just to touch up the spots that we just touched. Because you want a nice equal coating of rub, and when you pick up the ribs, obviously you're kind of smearing a bit of the rub off, so just want to touch it up lightly, get a bit on the back as well. And then we should be good. So we'll check back in soon. So the ribs have been on for like an hour now, roughly. We're not wrapping them or anything yet, but what we are going to do is just check to make sure they're cooking properly, check to make sure they've not gone dry, and if they have gone dry, which is kind of normal, what I've done is filled a spray bottle up with hot apple cider vinegar and hot water. I'll be honest, I don't know the ratios, I kind of just eyeballed it. I'd say probably 1/4 of apple cider vinegar to 1 part water, but the reason that I use apple cider vinegar is that obviously apple goes with the pork, and vinegar is great with barbecue as well. It gives it like a nice acidic tone. So we're going to spray it, if it's dry of course, with this a little bit, just to keep the surface moist. And then the reason I've got this on is that we're going to flip the ribs, going to move them around, so the other rack of ribs that was away from where the heat's coming from here will be put towards the heat, so they cook kind of evenly. So if you want to come close, we can have a look at the ribs. We can do a grand unveiling about an hour in. So they are smelling incredible. They're starting to dry out just a little bit, which is, like I said, perfectly normal, but they're cooking really well. So we're just going to spray them a bit with that. I'll be honest, this is not the typical sprayer that I use. This is a makeshift one that I've had to kind of just fashion out of nowhere. But you just want to get the surface a bit moist. Don't worry about the rub, it's not going to make the rub run off or anything, because the rub at this point has more than stuck to the meat. You just want to keep the surface nice and moist. So now we're literally just going to move these ribs, move that rack there and that rack there, just so they cook evenly, so they get equal time. Besides the heat, just spray them a little bit more. You can never go wrong with more vinegar. Nice and moist. So now we're gonna shut the lid down, keep the heat going, keep it rolling for like another hour, and then at that point we should be good to wrap. If not, we'll give it another 30 minutes and see how we're going. So see you in an hour. So these ribs have been on for about 2.5 hours now. I've spritzed them a few times off camera just to make sure they stayed nice and moist, but if you want to bring the camera close, you'll be able to see the grand reveal. So these bad boys are looking damn good. They are ready now to be wrapped. As you can see, we've got a nice little bit of bone pullback there, not too burnt, not too much pullback, just enough for now. They've had all the smoke they need, so you're going to get them on this platter, and we're going to get them back inside. Right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to wrap these ribs. Now there's a way to do it that ensures that they stay super moist and go real tender when you wrap them, and also get a great flavour. So what we're going to do, I just realised I should probably have gloves on both hands, but at this point I don't really care. So lay the ribs down like that, and then what we're going to do is we're going to lay some nice honey back here. You don't want too much, because obviously we have that honey flavour already in the rub, but just enough, because obviously honey's nice and sweet, it goes really well with pork. You just want about that much, give or take. I mean, again, with what I cook, I really do just eyeball stuff. I don't tend to go for exact measurements. I find I get a lot more success just eyeballing it. And then, to finish it off, we're just going to put 3 powders of butter down. So 1, 2, and 3. And then flip these ribs like that, so they're face down. So now what we're gonna do is we're actually gonna wrap them. So you wanna come over like that, and then like that. Fold it quite neatly, obviously it doesn't matter too much, but you wanna fold it pretty neatly with double wrap paper. And then we're gonna fold these sides like that, and then like that, and then like that. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna put these back on the smoker, meat down, and what this does is allows us to very easily just open the ribs up to check for doneness when we need to. So what we're gonna do, just like I said, we're gonna lay these meat side down this time. So that side is where the bones are. We're gonna lay them meat side down, like that. And then we'll check on them soon. At this point, we're really just going for tenderness. The ribs have been pretty much smoked as much as they need to now. They just need to get tender. And then once they're tender, it's time to glaze. So we took the ribs off about 10 minutes ago now. I didn't record it because I went to test them to make sure the temp was okay, and they were surprisingly done. That's probably the first thing I've ever smoked that has been done before I thought it would be done, but it's what it is. So let's get these bad boys unwrapped now so you guys can see what pretty much done ribs looks like. You can see when you pick them up, when you burn your fingers, there's a nice bend to them. I think they are slightly overcooked, so there might be a little bit of breakage, but if you bring the camera over here, you can see there's some amazing pullback on the bones. That right there is really what you want to see. The pullback is very good. This rack looks, yeah, this is a lot better, this one. So here as well, you've got a decent pullback, not as good as that, but still enough. If I just probe it, you'll see, goes in like butter into the meat. That's how you know it's done. The best thermometer is not temperature, it's how just easy a probe goes into the meat, and that is like warm butter, as is that, like goes straight through it. Hopefully they won't fall apart when I pick them up. But now, we're not quite done yet, so these have rested for about 10 minutes. But what we're gonna do is just flip them over. They've got a great colour on them, a slight mahogany colour, that's what you want. And now what we're gonna do is we're gonna glaze them. So I've got some Traeger barbecue sauce there that I've just stuck in the microwave for maybe like 30 seconds to warm it up. And now we're just gonna come on with a decent coat of this sauce just over the top. It actually doesn't stand out too much because the colour of the rubs, the one they've cooked, is pretty similar to the colour of the barbecue sauce, but we're just gonna give these a decent coat, and then once you've coated these ribs, we're gonna stick them back on the smoker for another 15 minutes. They are done now, so you don't wanna overcook them too much, but we're gonna stick them on for about 15 minutes just to let the glaze set, and then it's gonna be time to eat. So now we're back out here at the Traeger. Last step of the procedure now. Time to thicken this glaze. So we're literally just gonna stick them back on the smoker, about 15 minutes. Keep it running for another 15 minutes. As you just saw, I hit them with a bit more rub, just to create like a nice muddy texture. So we're gonna give them 15 minutes and then we'll try them. And these bad boys are done. As you can see, the glaze is set real nice. So we're gonna get these out and try them. Alright, so it's time to call these things done. They're hanging around 200 to 205 Fahrenheit, which is perfect for pork. Anything like this that you eat in tender, you want to be around that level. So, the moment of truth. I have no idea which rack to go for, so let's get a big one off this rack. So as you can see there, incredibly juicy. I mean, you're not meant to squeeze meat when you've cooked it, but I mean, that is about as juicy as you can get meat, to be fair. I've got a great smoke ring, the glaze is beautiful. I think it's time to try this. Oh. That right there is a rib. I've probably got it all over my face, and I'm not gonna lie, I don't care. It's that right there. It's the best rib I've ever made. Oh, the meat is so tender, not so tender that it just falls off the bone, but tender enough to leave a bone that clean. That right there is the perfect sweet spot. I actually kind of thought they were overdone at first. Absolutely not. They are cooked just perfectly. I mean, look at that. Look at that bone sticking out there. Just This is what you call picture perfect ribs right here. This is that good stuff. So that's it for today. This is the first cooking video that I've recorded, so thank you for watching if you made it to the end. Don't forget to subscribe and also leave a like and comment down below what you want to see me do next. Very excited to start this cooking channel journey. That sounds kind of cringy, but very excited to start making cooking videos because this is something that I do a lot of in real life when I'm not making Halo videos, so getting to share it with everyone and make content about it is just perfect. So I'm going to leave this one here because, as you can see, I've got some racks of ribs to eat. So thank you for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next one.